All right, back to it with my friend Gregory Wrightstone. Like I said, I think he's been coming here for 15 years, talking about climate change and everything going on. And Al Gore, 20 years of being wrong. I wonder how that feels. Gregory, welcome back to the program. 20 years ago, Al Gore, no ice in the Arctic, rising sea levels, which is weird because, you know, Kamala Harris just bought an $8.5 million mansion on the shores in Malibu. Barack Obama has two mansions, one in Martha's Vineyard, one in Hawaii, both on the shore. They're not too worried about the sea levels rising now, are they?
No, neither am I. I'm calling you from Apollo Beach, Florida, and I'm officially 12 feet above sea level today.
Yeah.
120 years ago, the spot I'm on was also 12 feet above sea level. So, you know, what we have is sea levels rising at an alarming rate of 7 inches per century. Per century. So that's not, and so sea level is rising, but Al Gore had predicted that all of Florida was going to be underwater by today. Well, I'd be talking to you with my mask and a snorkel right now if he was correct. But he's been
Right.
wrong about everything. He's made, as of 2022, that was the last good reckoning I had, $330 million on this climate scam that he's talking about. And it's not that when we talk about a climate hoax, it's not that climate change is a hoax. Climate change is real.
It is real.
It's not dangerous.
Well, it is real.
It's not a climate crisis.
Here's a story that I like to tell. About 15 years ago, the University of Michigan put up satellite imagery over Lake Huron, and they found this isthmus, this land bridge between Michigan and Canada, about 250 feet beneath the surface. And they said, you know, that would have been a great place for the people that originally lived here to hunt caribou. So they put down submersibles, and they found intact hunting ambush camps on that isthmus, just like they predicted. They said they were about 11,000 years old in completely pristine condition because the water levels back then apparently rose about 7 inches per century to the point that it got to the point they couldn't hunt there anymore. So 11,000 years on, they're 250 feet beneath the surface of Lake Huron. Yes, climate change is real. It gave me the Great Lakes as an example, didn't it?
It did. It was actually the Great Warming started about 18,000 years ago and really started accelerating 15,000 years ago. And over a period of 10,000 years or less, sea level accelerated quite greatly because glaciers were retreating, glaciers were melting, adding water to the oceans. The oceans were warming, so they expanded a little bit, and so we have 400 feet of sea level rise that occurred from the period of 18,000 years to today. 400 feet of sea level rise. Now, bear in mind, those islands that Al Gore predicted 20 years ago in the Pacific Ocean that would be well underwater, they were also just above sea level 18,000 years ago. And now we've got 400 feet of sea level rise, and here they are still just above sea level. And so what they're saying is that 400 feet of sea level rise did not put them underwater, but that next 7 inches, look out, that's going to put them underwater. No, it's not. These islands keep growing. It's called a geologic process known as accretion, where these islands grow along with sea level rise. The sands and gravels on the oceans, on the beaches, wash up onto the islands, and then it's distributed by wind and critters all around the island. So it's a slow process. So that's what we have, are these natural processes that have caused the islands like the Maldives and the Seychelles to rise along with sea level. So the key thing here is there is no climate crisis. And the other thing I want your listeners and your viewers to take away this morning is that they should welcome the warmth, and we're in a warming trend. They should welcome the warmth and fear the cold, because history tells us cold has been horrific throughout time. It's the cold periods that were related to crop failure, famine, pestilence, and mass depopulation. It was the warm periods, warmer than today, that were hugely beneficial. Great civilization empires arose during those really warm periods. And so we, again, welcome the warmth, fear the cold.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion of Greenland in the news lately for a different reason. But Greenland, between about the year 900 AD and 1390 AD, was occupied agriculturally because it was warm at that time. They had farms and livestock, and people lived there, and then they were kind of pushed out when it got cold again. And another point, 20 to 1. That's the number of deaths on the planet each year. Cold versus heat deaths, natural deaths. 20-1, cold kills people. But they try to lie to you about all of it, don't they? Warming is good. Heat, warmth, and water create life. That's a fact, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah, that was Eric the Red that first discovered Greenland, and he was there. He wanted to populate it. Both his dad and he were cold-blooded killers. They were kicked out of
Yeah.
Norway and then Iceland for
Nice
murdering
folks.
somebody. Yeah, yeah. It was like father, like son. And so Eric came back. He says, "Well, here's this land. It's mostly ice, but there's some green parts there. I'm going to call it Greenland." And so it was really a marketing campaign calling it Greenland. It's kind of like I told you I live in Apollo Beach. It's something we've got here. I think whoever first came here, there is no beach, but they said, "Well, it sure sounds beautiful. We're going to call it Apollo Beach." And that's kind of what Eric the Red did with Greenland. We'll get everybody to move here. It's lovely here. Don't get me wrong, but there is no beach. And
Right.
and that's kind of what Eric the Red did. And back then there was a dairy, there were dairies. They were
That's right.
growing a barley. You cannot grow barley today on Greenland. You can grow uh, cold resistant wheat, but not barley.
Right.
There is one small dairy. I've done this research, so you don't have to. There were actually 33 heads of cattle on Greenland today that are
Yeah.
barely eking by. But back then there were hundreds. There were many farms on Greenland because it
There
was
were, in
warmer.
fact, about 20 years ago, some caribou hunters stumbled on some timbers and they decided to start excavating it. You know this, I think they call it the farm beneath the sand, rough translation. And they excavated it. They found livestock buildings. They found houses. They found all of that dating back to about 1000, 1100 AD. And yes, there was agriculture there, but then it got cold because what happens to the temperatures? It goes up for a couple of hundred years. It comes down for a couple of hundred years, roughly speaking, right?
But we did, and we see that the last great cooling period occurred, from the years 1250 to 1850. It was called the Little Ice Age, and that's what we're talking about. Is when it started getting cold in Greenland. They just disappeared. We really don't know what happened to them. We know that they were no longer there after a period of time. And that Little Ice Age also caused glaciers to come down out of the mountains throughout Europe. And villages were overwhelmed and consumed by glaciers coming down out of the mountains in France, Germany, and across Europe. It was a very difficult time. Parts of Europe experienced 50% mortality during that time. It was a combination of factors. But again, like you said, cold kills 15 to 20 times as many people as
That's
does
right.
heat. And the interesting part of this is if you look at it, mild cold kills a lot more people than severe cold. And people ask me about that all the time. They say, "Why is that?"
Yeah, why is
And it's
it?
because,
Real quick.
well, because mild cold occurs all the time. Every
Ah,
winter
that's
we
right.
get mild cold. And severe cold, like we have right now, is a pretty rare event. And
Yeah.
so, yes, that particular severe cold would kill a lot more people
So here's the
in
verdict.
that intense part.
Here's the verdict. I got to leave it here, Gregory, and I love having you on the program. Al Gore was wrong about everything. Gregory Wrightstone, the geologist, executive director of the CO₂ Coalition, Arlington, Virginia. Look him up. He's got some great books, great resources. Like he just said, he's done the research, so you don't have to. Gregory, thank you as always.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Really appreciate it. Facts matter around here a lot. I'll be right back.